Good morning. Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate your time and helping me with this. My name is Lea Fowler, and I'd like to start today with a quote from John chapter 15, verse 13, which tells us, "Greater love hath no man than the man that lay down his life for another." What do we think of when we hear that verse? Automatically what comes to my mind are firefighters, police officers, emergency personnel, and others. But today we're going to talk about our military, who lay down their lives on a daily basis, not only for each other, but for this country. What do we offer them when they return? Now, you may have heard about the stories in the Washington Post in February this year, and I'm going to give you some facts from those stories to give you a little background on what our soldiers face when they come home. First of all, our soldiers and their families are housed in substandard housing when they come home. If they need medical attention at Walter Reed, they don't have the complete facilities there, so they house them in the surrounding buildings. And one of those buildings, Building 18, has been cited to have mouse droppings, cockroaches, loose floorboards, and an elevator that does not work. And there are wheelchair-bound soldiers in that building. Also, for every soldier that is recovering from surgery or wounds, there are 17 others who are currently awaiting to hear their medical status from a VA review board. Over 700 are simply housed in the buildings there on the Walter Reed campus, or also in hotels and apartments paid for by the military. A National Guard sergeant was found in one of these buildings to have suffered traumatic injury to his brain and his leg. He was in rags when they found him in Iraq, and when he arrived at Walter Reed, he was still in those rags. It took a caseworker from Walter Reed to send him to the Red Cross to get clothing. This man is still active duty, and he has no clothing. Part of the reason for these problems is the sea of governmental red tape. In a March 5th Newsweek article, it cites where there is a minimum of 6 months pending just to hear your medical review. There are 400,000 awaiting decisions right now, and over 150,000 are being appealed. And the VA keeps no statistics on how long it takes to get a VA hospital appointment. That's your starting point for getting your medical review. They don't even keep the statistics on how long it is to get in there. The typical soldier is required to file 22 different documents with 8 different commands, and then there are 16 different systems used to process that information. Unfortunately, the Army's 3 databases that they have can't look at each other's files, so there's no communication whatsoever there. In 2005, before the House Committee, a lieutenant general testified that in 2004, the Army had 74 people available to process these medical cases. And in 1972, during the height of the Vietnam War, the Army had 260 employees to process these cases. Now that you know some of the facts, I'm going to introduce you to one of the soldiers whose life was directly affected by these scenarios. Luckily, he's one of the fortunate ones. His name is Jason Stifler, and he fell out of an Army watchtower while on duty in Kandahar, Iraq in 2002. At that time, he was in a coma for days. He has no memory of the accident. Even though the Army states it's an accident, they will not give him details. He still suffers partial paralysis, memory loss, and post-traumatic stress disorder. While he was awaiting his medical benefits, he and his family lost their car, and they were forced to move their mattresses out of their bedrooms in their mobile home to sleep in their living room or on a space heater to save on their bills. When he did get his VA finding, he was found to only have 40% disability rating and only received $731 a month for his condition. Luckily, Jason's story fell on the ears of the local American Legion, who put him in touch with an advocate for veterans' rights. The advocate then approached the Wall Street Journal, who was interested in doing a story on a veteran. With the Veterans Advocate and aid from the Wall Street Journal, they got the ball moving on his review appeal. Normally, it takes 26 months for the VA to review an appeal and another 3 months to make a decision. Due to the Wall Street Journal's involvement, it took one Saturday of overtime to get Jason's record reviewed. As an end result, he was deemed totally disabled and in need of a personal assistant. Their family now receives $2,900 a month and $15,000 in retroactive payments. So as you can see, Jason is just one of the lucky ones. We've got veterans in these facilities that desperately need help. And the government and we as a people are turning our backs on the brave men and women of the service. They have to rely on family members or other wounded veterans to navigate through the monetary and medical obstacles they face. We as a country need to pull together through donations to Freedom Is Not Free and other legitimate organizations. I know there have been several news stories lately where there are organizations on the web claiming to help veterans. You send your money, it's a scam. I highly recommend before you do any donations to anybody that lists their site on the web that you do the appropriate background research and everything to make sure they are a true legitimate service for our veterans. Otherwise, we need to approach our lawmakers and express our disgust and revulsion over these circumstances. This is totally unacceptable. I've made some information available to you on the screen there. Please use it and help our heroes. They deserve it. Thank you.